These are laws of indices. Let's take them. We know that 2 raised to power 3 times 2 raised to power 2 is the same as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And that's the same as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which means 2 raised to power 5. So we'll say that this result is 2 raised to a power that is the sum of this power and this power. So that means a raised to power, let's call that 1. Let's call that the first one. A raised to power x times a raised to power y will be equal to a raised to power x plus y. Now we go to the second. Let's say another one. Let's say another one. 2 raised to power 3 divided by 2 raised to power 2 is simply 2 times 2 times 2 over 2 times 2. 2 cancels 2, 2 here 1, 2 here 1, and the answer is 2. This 2 is the same as 2 raised to power 1. So we'll say that this result is 2 raised to a power that is 3 minus 2. Take note, you are going to subtract the power of the denominator from the power of the numerator. If you say 2 raised to power 3 over 2, if you say 2 raised to power 3 divided by 2 raised to power 2, the denominator is 2 raised to power 2. So you subtract the power of that denominator from the power of the numerator. So we take the second one. Let's call that Roman figure 2. A raised to power x divided by a raised to power y is equal to a raised to power x minus y. Is equal to a raised to power x minus y. We take another one very quickly. Let's call that Roman figure 3. 2 raised to power 2 and the whole of that raised to power 3. The cube of 2 raised to power 3 is the same as the cube of 2 raised to power 2 rather is the same as 2 raised to power 2 times 2 raised to power 2 times 2 raised to power 2. And if we use the first law, that simply means 2 raised to power 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is 2 raised to power 6. So this 6 is the same as 2 times 3. So that means a raised to power x, a raised to power x raised to power y is equal to a raised to power x times y, which is xy. Now we go to the next. Which is, if I say 2 raised to power minus 1, that's the same as saying 1 over 2 raised to power 1. If I say 2 raised to power minus 2, that's the same as 1 over 2 raised to power 2. If I say 2 raised to power minus 4, that's the same as 1 over 2 raised to power 4. You can also say 1 over 2 is the same as 2 raised to power 1. 1 over 2 raised to power 2 is the same as 2 raised to power minus 2. And 1 over 2 raised to power 4 is the same as 2 raised to power minus 4. So that simply means, let's call that the fourth one. A raised to power minus x. A raised to power minus x is the same as 1 over a raised to power x. We take another one. A raised to power 0 is the same as 1. If any number raised to power 0 is 1, as long as that number itself is not equal to 0. So that means a must not be equal to 0. Now we take another one. Let's call that Roman figure 6. A raised to power x over y is equal to y root of a raised to power x. Whenever the power is a fraction, you put a root this way and put the denominator of the fraction of that power here, and then write the base under the root and say the whole of that raised to whatever the numerator of that power is, which is x here. This is the same as writing, we can also write this as yth root of a and put the power x on top of it here. This and this are the same. So let me write that second way of writing it. Now we can say or a raised to power x over y, a raised to power x over y is equal to, put the root sign, put the denominator of the power, which is y, put it here, and then write the a under the root and put the power x on top of it. These and these are the same. So we take another one. Yes, which other one can there be? Okay, so that's it. Yeah, that's it very, very briefly. Now let's see how we use this. So let me look at this. If I write 8 raised to power 2 over 3, that simply means put the root sign, denominator of the power is what you put here, that means the cube root, and you put the 8 under the root and raise the whole of that to whatever this denominator of the power is, which is 2. So this simply means cube root of 8 raised to power 2. The cube root of 8 is 2, and 2 raised to power, that means 2 raised to power 2, which is 4. And that's it. Very, very simply. Now let's check a few. Let's take questions on that. Now let's look at these questions. Exercise 1D. It says simplify the following. Number 1, simplify the following. Number 1, that's the solution. Number 1, 2a times 3a raised to power 2. That's equal to 2 times 3. That's 6. And now we do a times a raised to power 2. That will be a raised to power. A is the same as a raised to power 1. So a raised to power 1 times a raised to power 2 is the same as a raised to power 1 plus 2, which is a raised to power 3. Now to the next one. Number 2, the square of 2a times 3a, that's equal to the square of 2a simply means 2a times 2a. 2 times 2, that's 4. A times a, that's a square. So when it is written this way, you square everything inside the bracket. This simply means 2 square, which is 4, times a square, which is a raised to power 2, and then times 3a. So, and that is the same as 4 times 3, 12. A raised to power 2 times a. A is simply a raised to power 1. So a raised to power 2 times a raised to power 1 is a raised to power 2 plus 1, which is a raised to power 3. Now we go to the next, which is number 3. Number 3. Oh, okay, what I just did now. This is number 3 actually. This is number 3. And this will be number 2. Number 2 is 2a times the square of 3a, which is equal to 2a times the square of 3 is 9, and the square of a is a raised to power 2, and that simply means 2 times 9, 18. A times a square, that's a raised to power 3. A is a raised to power 1. A raised to power 1 times a raised to power 2. That's a raised to power 3. Just add the powers 1 and 2. And that will be a raised to power 3. Now to the next one, which will now be number 4. Number 4. This is written this way. 4. And the power is written this way. This power simply means 1 over 2. So that's actually 4 raised to power 1 over 2. That's 4 raised to power 1 over 2. which simply means the square root of 4 raised to power 1. When the power is a fraction, you put the root sign and write the denominator of that fraction here, write the number which is 4 under the root, and raise everything to a power which is raise everything to a power which is the numerator of that 1 over 2, and that's 1 here. So now let's go and that simply means square root of 4. The square root of 4 is 2, and 2 raised to power 1 means 2 raised to power 1 is 2. Now to the next, which is number 5. 27 raised to power 1 over 3. That simply means the cube root of 27 and the whole of that raised to power 1, which simply means the cube root of 27 is 3. That's 3 raised to power 1, which is 3. Now to number 6. 125 raised to power 1 over 3. This simply means 1 over 3. That's another way of writing 1 over 3. Now this will mean, let me write it that way first of all. 125 raised to power 1 over 3, which is equal to the cube root of 125 raised to power 1. And that simply means the cube root of 125 is 5, and that means 5 raised to power 1, which is equal to 5. Now to number 7. Number 7. This is the cube root of 2 raised to power 6. The cube root of 2 raised to power 6. First of all, if I write square root of x, for square root, whether you put this 2 or not, it doesn't matter. Everybody already knows that this means square root. But if it's not a square root, you have to put it. If it's a cube root, you have to put the 3. If it's a fourth root, you have to put the 4. If it's a fifth root, you have to put the 5. But for square root, it's not compulsory. You don't have to put it. Now, square root of x is the same as x raised to power 1 over 2. The cube root of x is the same as x raised to power 1 over 3. The 10th root of q is the same as q raised to power 1 over 10. So that simply means, let's take that out first. Now, that simply means the cube root of 2 raised to power 6 is the same as 2 raised to power 6 raised to power 1 over 3. And that's the same as saying 2 raised to power 6 times 1 over 3. 3 here, 1, 3 here, 2. Which means 2 raised to power 2. And that's 4. Now to the next, which is number 8. Number 8. 8 raised to power 2 over 3. This means 2 over 3. So that's 8 raised to power 2 over 3, which means the cube root of 8 raised to power, the cube root of 8 raised to power 2, which simply means the cube root of 8 is 2. 2 raised to power 2, that's 4. To the next, number 9. 2 raised to power minus 2 simply means 1 over 2 raised to power 2, which is the same as 1 over 4. Number 10. 3 raised to power minus 3 is the same as 1 over 3 raised to power 3, which simply means 1 over 27. 11. 9 raised to power 1 over 2. 9 raised to power 1 over 2 is the same as the square root of 9 raised to power 1. The square root of 9 raised to power 1, and that simply means the square root of 9 is 3, and that's 3 raised to power 1, which is equal to 3. Now to the next, which is number 12. Number 12. 9 raised to power minus 1. This simply means minus 1 over 2. That's 9 raised to power minus 1 over 2, which is the square root of 9 raised to power minus 1. And that means 3, the square root of 9 is 3. 3 raised to power minus 1, which is equal to 1 over 3 raised to power 1, and that is same as 1 over 3. And the next one, that was number 12. The next one is number 13. Number 13, 25a square and the whole of that raised to power 1 over 2 is equal to the square root of 25a, the square root of 25a square. And that simply means the square root of 25 is 5, don't forget the power outside here. Yeah, that's it. This simply means the square root of 25a square and the whole of that raised to power 1. 25a square raised to power 1 over 2 simply means the square root of 25 and the whole of that raised to power. The square root of 25a square and the whole of that raised to power 1. We have said the denominator of the power, you put a root. Let's write that again. 25a square raised to power 1 over 2. Whenever the power is a fraction, you put a root sign this way. The denominator of that fraction is what you put outside there. Then you write whatever is here under the root. That's 25a square. And you now raise the whole of that to a power that is whatever this denominator is, which is 1. So that means square root of 25a square raised to power 1. So that's what we're going to do. Now, that means square root of 25a square raised to power 1. The square root of 25 is 5. The square root of a square is a. And the whole of that raised to power 1 simply means 5a. Now to the next, which is number 14. Number 14 is 2a raised to power minus 1. Here you have to be careful. It's only a that has a power minus 1. The 2 is just 2. So that simply means 2 times a raised to power minus 1 is 1 over a raised to power 1, which is the same as 1 over a. So the answer is 2 times 1 over a, which is 2 over a. Now to the next one, which is number 15. Number 15. What does that say? 2a and the whole of that raised to power minus 1. That simply means 1 all over 2a raised to power 1. 1 all over 2a raised to power 1. And that's the same as 1 over 2a. Now to the next, which is number 16. Number 16. Number 16. I think I'm skipping some numbers. 13 is 25a. 25a square raised to power 1 over 2. 14 is 2a raised to power minus 1. That's correct. 15 is, yes, 2a and the whole of that raised to power minus 1. Okay, that's correct. That's correct. And 16 now. Okay, that's correct. I've done the 15. That's correct. 14 is 2a raised to power minus 1. And 15 is 2a and the whole of that raised to power minus 1. That's correct. 16 now. Okay, that's correct. 16 is 4 raised to power 3 over 2. This means 3 over 2. 4 raised to power 3 over 2, which is written this way. Which can be written this way, and that means the square root of 4 and the whole of that raised to power 3, which means the square root of 4 is 2, and that means 2 raised to power 3, which is 8. Now to the next, which is number 17. Number 17, that's 2 raised to power minus 2 times 2 raised to power 3. That's simply equal to 2 raised to power minus 2 plus 3, which is 2 raised to power 1, and that's 2. Now to the next, which is number 18. That's the square of 2 raised to power 2, which simply means 2 raised to power 2 times 2, and that's 2 raised to power 4, which is 16. Now to the next, which is number 19. Number 19. Number 19, that's 10 raised to power minus 2 That simply means 1 over 10 raised to power 2, which is equal to 1 over 100. Now to number 20. Number 20 is the square root of one number 9 over 16. That's the same as the square root of one number 9 over 16 is the same as 25 over 16. That's what it is if you change it to an improper fraction, and that means the square root of 25, which is 5, divided by the square root of 16, which is 4. And if you like, you can write it as 1 over 4. Now to number 21. Number 21 is, I'm writing it as 1 over 24 because the question is also written as a mixed number. Now 21 is 3a raised to power minus 2, which simply means 3 times a raised to power minus 2 is 1 over a square. So this is the same as 3 over a square. Now to number 22. Number 22 is 3a and the whole of that raised to power minus 2, which simply means 1 over 3a, 1 divided by the square of 3a. And that simply means 1 all over, the square of 3 is 9, and the square of a is a raised to power 2. And that's 1 over 9a square. Number 23, that's the square root of 3 raised to power 4, which simply means, I can write this way. The square root of 3 raised to power 4 simply means 3 raised to power 4 raised to power half. And this means 4 times half. Of course, we know that that's 2. 2 here 1, 2 here 2. So that means 3 raised to power 2, which is 9. Now to the next, number 24. Number 24, that's a raised to power 2 raised to power minus 1 over 2. This is the same as the square root of a and the whole of that raised to power minus 1. How to write that? Well, the square root of a, and the whole of that raised to power minus 1. The square root of a and the whole of that raised to power minus 1. Why is that space looking like it can't contain it conveniently? That's the same as the square root of a, and the whole of that, the square root of a and the whole of that raised to power minus 1. That's better. And that simply means, no, it's not a, it is a square. It is a square. Let me take that again. Number 24. What's the question? A square raised to power minus 1 over 2. That is the same as the square root of a square and the whole of that raised to power minus 1, which simply means the square root of a square is a, and that means a raised to power minus 1, which is the same as 1 over a raised to power 1, and that's simply 1 over a. Now to the next, which is number 25. Number 25 is 1 over 9 raised to power minus 1, and that's the same as 1 all over 1 over 9, and that means 1 divided by 1 over 9, which simply means 1 times 9 over 1, and that's 9. Very, very simply. Now to the next, which is number 26. Number 26, that's 1 over 4 raised to power minus 1 over 2. That is the same as the square root of 1 over 4 and the whole of that raised to power minus 1. The whole of that raised to power minus 1. The square root of 1 over 4 means the square root of 1, the square root of 4, 2, and that's 1 over 2 raised to power minus 1, which simply means 1 divided by 1 over 2, and that is the same as 1 divided by 1 over 2 is the same as 1 times 2 over 1, which is 2. Now to the next one, which is number 27. Number 27. The question is 3 raised to power 1 over 2 times 3 raised to power 3 over 2. And that's equal to 3 raised to power 1 over 2 plus 3 over 2. 1 over 2 plus 3 over 2 is 4 over 2, which is 2. And that's the same as 3 raised to power 2, which is 9. Now to the next, which is number 28. Number 28, 1 over 27 raised to power minus 2 over 3. That is equal to the cube root of 1 over 27. The cube root of 1 over 27 raised to power minus 2. I think I should just put it under it. That's equal to the cube root. That's equal to the cube root of 1 over 27 raised to power minus 2, which is equal to the cube root of 1 is 1, the cube root of 27 is 3, and that's 1 over 3 raised to power minus 2, which simply means 1 all over the square of 1 over 3. Yes, and that simply means 1 divided by 1 over 9. 1 divided by 1 over 9 is the same as 1 times 9 over 1, which is 9. Now to the next one, which is number 29. Number 29, 3 raised to power 1 over 2 times 3 raised to power 1 over 2 times 3 raised to power minus 3 over 2. 3 raised to power minus 3 over 2. That's equal to 3 raised to power 1 over 2 plus minus 3 over 2. And this will be the same as plus times minus is minus. So that's the same as 3 raised to power 1 over 2 minus 3 over 2 minus 3 over 2. And that simply means 3 raised to power 1 over 2 minus 3 over 2 is the same as minus 2 over 2. 3 raised to power minus 2 over 2, which is the same as 3 raised to power minus 1. And that simply means 1 all over 3 raised to power 1, which is simply the same as 1 over 3. Now to the next, which is number 29. Now to number 30, 0.0, that's 0.04 raised to power 0.04 raised to power 3 over 2 raised to power 3 over 2. That's the same as, I can write 0.04 as 4 over 100. Let me write it under it. I can write that as 4 over 100, and that will be 4 over 100 raised to power 3 over 2. Now here, this is the same as the square root of 4 over 100 raised to power 3, which simply means the square root of 4 is 2, the square root of 100 is 10, and that means 2 over 10 raised to power 3, which simply means, of course, I can do this 2 here 1, 2 here 5, and that means the cube of 1 over 5. That means the cube of 1 over 5, which is the same as 1 cube is 1, the cube of 5 is 125, and that's the answer. Now to the next one, which is number 31. 2a raised to power minus 1 times 3a raised to power 2 times 3 raised to power 2. That's equal to 2 times 3, that's 6. A raised to power minus 1 times a raised to power 2, that's a raised to power minus 1 plus 2, which is a raised to power 1. So that's 6a raised to power 1, which is the same as 6a. Very, very simply. Now to the next, which is number 32. Number 32. 2a raised to power minus 1. 2a raised to power minus 1 times 3a squared times 3a raised to power 2. That's equal to this is the same as 1 over 2a raised to power 1 times 3a square, and that simply means 1 over 2a times 3a square. Now a in a square is a, and that simply means of course 1 times 3a. 1 times 3a will be 3a over 2. Now to the next one, which is number 33. Number 33, 2a, the question is 2a raised to power minus 1 times the square of 2a, which is equal to 2a raised to power minus 1 times the square of 3a means 3 square, which is 9a square, that's a raised to power 2, and that simply means 2 times 9, 18. A raised to power minus 1 times a raised to power 2, that's a raised to power minus 1 plus 2, which is a raised to power 1, and that's the same as a. Now to the next, which is number 34. 34, that's 16 raised to power minus 3 over 2. That simply means the square root of 16 raised to power minus 3, which is the same as the square root of 16 is 4 raised to power minus 3, and that's 1 over 4 raised to power 3, which is 1 all over 64. 4 raised to power 3 is 64. Now to the next, which is number 35. Number 35, 2 raised to power 1 over 2 times 2 raised to power 3 over 2. That's equal to 2 raised to power 1 over 2 plus 3 over 2, which is 2 raised to power 1 over 2 plus 3 over 2 is 4 over 2, which is 2. 2 raised to power 2, and that's 4. The next is 36. Number 36, that's 2 raised to power 6, and the whole of that is raised to power minus 2 over 3. That simply means the cube root of 2 raised to power 6 raised to power minus 2, which is equal to the cube root of 2 raised to power, what number are we doing? Number 36. The cube root of 2 raised to power 6 raised to power minus 2 raised to power minus 2, and that simply means 2 raised to power 6 raised to power 1 over 3. Cube root means raised to power 1 over 3. I can do that this way, and the whole of that raised to power minus 2. So 3a 1, 3a 2, which simply means 2 raised to power 2, and now raised to power 2 raised to power 2 raised to power minus 2, which means 2 raised to power minus 4. Now what did I do here? I did cube root of 2 raised to power 6 raised to power minus 2. I know that the cube root of 2 raised to power 6 is the same as 2 raised to power 6 raised to power 1 over 3, and there's already another power minus 2 outside. So 3a 1, 3a 2, this will become 2 raised to power 2, and the whole of that will be raised to power minus 2, which is now 2 raised to power 2 times minus 2, which is minus 4. Now, and that means, so 2 raised to power minus 4, which means 2 raised to power minus 4, and that is 1 over 2 raised to power 4, which is equal to 1 over 16. Now that was number 36. Now to the next, which is number 37. Number 37, that is 125 raised to power minus 2 over 3. 125 raised to power minus 2 over 3. You make sure that you write it well. Don't let, if you want to write 8 raised to power 2 over 3, write it this way, boldly, and don't write it, don't make it look like 8 or number 2 over 3. So now 27, 125 raised to power minus 2 over 3, that's equal to the cube root of 125. This is how we go. You put the root sign, you put the denominator of the power here, that means cube root, and you write the number, this number under the root, which is 125, and you raise the whole of that to whatever the numerator of the power is, which is minus 2. So that's a cube root of 125 raised to the power minus 2. The cube root of 125 is 5, and that's 5 raised to the power minus 2, which means 1 over 5 raised to the power 2, and that's equal to 1 over 25. Now to number 38. 38 very quickly. Number 38. And what's a question? 38. 3 raised to the power x times 3 raised to the power minus x. That's equal to 3 raised to the power x plus minus x simply means x minus x, which is equal to 3 raised to the power 0, and that's 1. Now to the next, number 39. Number 39. 39, that's 16 raised to the power minus 3 over 4. 16 raised to the power minus 3 over 4. That's the same as the fourth root of 16 raised to the power minus 3, which simply means the fourth root of 16 raised to the power minus 3. The fourth root of 16 is 2, and that means 2 raised to the power minus 3, which is 1 over 2 raised to the power 3, and that's 1 over 8. And the next one, that's 1 over 8. The next one is number 40. Number 40. And that is number 40, 0.027 raised to the power 2 over 3. 0.027 raised to the power 2 over 3, which is equal to, we can write this as a fraction, and that's 27 over 1000 raised to the power 2 over 3. And that simply means the cube root of 27 over 1000 raised to the power 2. The cube root of 27 over 1000 raised to the power 2. And that's equal to, the cube root of 27 is 3. The cube root of 1000 is 10 raised to the power 2. And that's equal to 3. The square of 3 is 9, and the square of 10 is 100. That's 9 over 100. The question was given as a decimal, so we can write this as a decimal too, and that's 0.09. And that's it. Yeah, that's it, very, very simply. Now let's take a breather and then come back to 41. Now the next one is number 41. We go straight to the next, which is number 41. Number 41. 2a times 3a raised to the power minus 2. That's equal to 2 times 3. That's 6. A times a raised to the power minus 2. That's a raised to the power 1 times a raised to the power minus 2, which means a raised to the power 1 plus minus 2. And that simply means a raised to the power 1 minus 2, which is a raised to the power minus 1. So this simply means 6a raised to the power minus 1, which is equal to 6 over a, because we know that a raised to the power minus 1 means 1 over a. So 6 times 1 over a, 6 times 1 over a is the same as 6 over a. Now, so the next one, which is number 42. 42, what's a question? 2a times 3a raised to the power minus 2. And that's equal to 2a times 1 over the square, 1 divided by the square of 3a. That's what this means. So that simply means 2a times, that simply means 2a times 1 over the square of 3 is 9, and the square of a is a raised to the power 2, which is equal to a in a square is a, and that simply means 2 over 9a. Now to the next one, which is 43. 43, that's 4 raised to the power minus 3 over 2. 4 raised to the power minus 3 over 2. This simply means the square root of 4 raised to the power minus 3. The square root of 4 raised to the power minus 3, which is equal to 2 raised to the power minus 3. And that simply means 1 over 2 raised to the power 3, which is equal to 1 over 8. That's equal to 1 over 8. Now to the next, which is 44. Number 44. 8 over 27 raised to the power minus 2 over 3. This is the same as the cube root of 8 over 27 raised to the power minus 2. And that simply means the cube root of 8 is 2, and the cube root of 27, the cube root of 8 is 2, and the cube root of 27 is 3. So that means 2 over 3 raised to the power minus 2. And that's equal to 1 all over 2 over 3 raised to the power 2. 1 divided by the square of 2 over 3. And that simply means 1 divided by the square of 2 is 4, and the square of 3 is 9. The square of 2 is 4, and the square of 3 is 9. So that simply means 1 divided by 4 over 9, which is 1 times 9 over 4. And that's the same as 9 over 4, which is, that's 9 over 4. And you can write that as 2 number 1 over 4 if you like. Now the next one is number 45. Number 45. Number 45 is number 45. I think I should write this, yes, as 2 number 1 over 4. Now the next one is 45. And what's the question? 1 all over 3 raised to the power minus 2. This is the same as saying 1 divided by 3 raised to the power minus 2. Okay, no, I can even write it this way, or I can do it this way too. 3 raised to the power minus 2 is the same as 1 over 3 raised to the power 2, which simply means 1 divided by 1 over 9. And that's the same as 1 times 9 over 1, which is 9. And I can also do it this way, 1 all over 3 raised to the power minus 2. That's simply the same as 3 raised to the power minus into bracket minus 2, which is 3 raised to the power minus times minus is plus, and that's 3 raised to the power 2, which is 9. So what it simply means is, if we say a raised to the power minus x means 1 over a raised to the power x, that means 1 over a raised to the power x is also equal to a raised to the power minus x. And if the power of the denominator is already negative, it will be a raised to the power, just as this 1 over a raised to the power minus x. It will be a raised to the power minus, you put a minus before you write this power minus x. So that will be a raised to the power x. So that means if I say 1 over 5 raised to the power minus 3, it will be the same as 5 raised to the power minus into bracket minus 3, which is 5 raised to the power minus times minus is plus, and that's 5 raised to the power plus 3, which is 125. So we go to the next. What's the next one? Let's check that. What's the next one? The next one is, okay, that was number 45. And what's the next one? 46. What's number 46? 46, that is 2 times 2 raised to the power minus 3. 2 is the same as 2 raised to the power 1, and that simply means 2 raised to the power 1 plus minus 3, which is 1 minus 3, and that is 2 raised to the power minus 2, which means 1 over 2 raised to the power 2, and that's 1 over 4. So the next, which is 47, number 47, that is the cube root of 4 raised to the power 1.5. This is the same as writing the cube root of 4. 1.5 is 1 and a half, which is the same as 3 over 2. So That's a cube root of 4 raised to the power 3 over 2. And that simply means 4 raised to the power 3 over 2 raised to the power 1 over 3. Cube root simply means raised to the power 1 over 3. And now that means 3 over 2 times 1 over 3. 3 here 1, 3 here 1. And that will be 4 raised to the power 1 over 2. That's 4 raised to the power 1 over 2. And that simply means the square root of 4 raised to the power 1, which is just 2. That's the same as saying the square root of 4. The square root of 4 raised to the power 1, and that's 2. Now to the next, which is 48. Here you don't need to write square root of 4 raised to the power 1. You can just write the answer. 4 raised to the power half is 2. Now 48. That's 3 raised to the power n minus 1 times 3 raised to the power n minus 1 times 3 raised to the power 1 minus n. That is equal to 3 raised to the power n minus 1 plus 1 minus n. And that simply means 3 raised to the power n minus n is 0, minus 1 plus 1 is 0. That's 3 raised to the power 0, and that's equal to 1. The next one is 49. 64 raised to the power minus 5 over 6. 64 raised to the power minus 5 over 6. That is equal to the 6th root of 64 raised to the power minus 5. The 6th root of 64 is 2, and that means 2 raised to the power minus 5, which is 1 over 2 raised to the power 5. And that simply means 1 over 32. And now to the next, which is number 50. Number 50, that's the cube root of 8a raised to the power minus 6. 8a raised to the power minus 6, first of all, is the same as 8. 8a raised to the power minus 6 simply means 8 times 1 over a raised to the power 6, and that is 8 over a raised to the power 6. So this will become the cube root of 8 over a raised to the power 6. And now what's next? What's the next thing? And what's the next thing to do? That simply means that's equal to the cube root of 8 is 2 over, how do we find the cube root of a raised to the power 6? This is actually the same as a raised to the power 6 raised to the power 1 over 3. 3 here 1, 3 here 2, and that's a raised to the power 2. So that's 2 over a square. And that's it, very, very simply. We go to the next one, which is number 51. 51, and what does that say? Number 51, that's on the next page. 51. Yes, let's say that 2x raised to the power 1 over 2 times 3x raised to the power minus 5 over 2. Take note, this power is only for the x here, and this power is only for the x here. Now that's equal to 2 times 3 is 6. That's 6x raised to the power 1 over 2 plus minus 5 over 2 is the same as minus 5 over 2. And that's equal to 6x raised to the power 1 over 2 minus 5 over 2 is minus 4 over 2, which is minus 2. 6x raised to the power minus 2, and that's equal to 6 times 1 over x squared, which is 6 over x squared. This is simply the same as 6 times 1 over x squared. That's what this represents, and that's the same as 6 over x squared. So the answer is 6 over x squared. Very, very simply. Now we go to the next, which is number 52. Number 52. 52, 0.125 raised to the power minus 1 over 3. That's equal to, let's write 0.125 as a fraction. That's 125 over 1000 raised to the power minus 1 over 3, which is simply equal to the cube root of 125 over 1000 raised to the power minus 1 raised to the power minus 1. And that simply means the cube root of 125 is 5, the cube root of 1000 is 10 raised to the power minus 1. This is the same as 1 over 2. So that means 1 over 2 raised to the power minus 1, which is equal to 1 divided by 1 over 2 raised to the power 1. Or maybe I should write it the way we've been writing it. You can write it this way. That's 1 over 2 raised to the power 1. And that's the same as 1 divided by 1 over 2. Which is simply equal to 1 times 2 over 1, and that's 2. Now the next one is 53. That is 16 over 9 raised to the power minus 3 over 2. This is the same as the square root of 16 over 9 raised to the power minus 3. The square root of 16 over 9, let me write it under it. The square root of 16 over 9 raised to the power minus 3, which simply means the square root of 16 is 4, the square root of 9 is 3. That's 4 over 3 raised to the power minus 3. And that's equal to 1 all over 4 over 3 raised to the power 3. 1 divided by the cube of 4 over 3. Which simply means 1 over the cube of 4 is 64, the cube of 3 is 27, and 1 divided by 64 over 27 is the same as 1 times 27 over 64, which is 27 all over 64. Now to the next, which is 54. Number 54, that is the fourth root of 16a raised to the power minus 12. This is the same as the fourth root of 16. A raised to the power minus 12 is 1 over a raised to the power 12. So 16 times 1 over a raised to the power 12 is going to be 16 over a raised to the power 12. And that will be the fourth root of 16 is 2 over, what's the fourth root of 12? The fourth root of a raised to the power 12. Fourth root of a raised to the power 12 is simply the same as a raised to the power 12 raised to the power 1 over 4. 4 here 1, 4 here 3, which is a raised to the power 3. So the answer is 2 over a raised to the power 3. Now to the next one, which is number 55. Number 55. That's 4a cube b times 3ab raised to the power minus 2, and that's equal to 4 times 3 is 12, a cube times a is a raised to the power 4, and b times b raised to the power minus 2 simply means b raised to the power 1 plus minus 2, which is b raised to the power 1 minus 2, and that's b raised to the power minus 1. So that, which is 1 over b. But let me write it this way first. 12 a raised to the power 4 times b raised to the power minus 1, which is equal to, and that will be 12a raised to the power 4 times 1 over b, which will be 12a raised to the power, that's a raised to the power 4, not a raised to the power 2. 12a raised to the power 4 times 1 over b, which is 12a raised to the power 4 over b. Now to the next, which is number 56. That's 4a cube b times 3ab and the whole of that raised to the power minus 2. That is same as 4a cube b times 1 over 3ab raised to the power 2. Let's write that b properly. And this is the same as 4a cube b times 1 over the square of 3 is 9. The square of a is a raised to the power 2. The square of b is b raised to the power 2. And that's equal to a square in a cube is a, b in b square is b. And that means 4a, that means 4a over 9b. 4a over 9b. And to the next one, 57, that's the square root of 125 square raised to the power minus 1 over 3. Raised to the power minus 1 over 3. The square root of 125 square raised to the power minus 1 over 3. And that's the same as the square root of 125 raised to the power minus 2 over 3. That's just 2 times minus 1 over 3. That's minus 2 over 3. And that simply means, how do we write this? Okay, I can write it as square root means raised to the power half. So I can write it as, first of all, I can write it as this. The square root of 125 is 5 raised to the power 3. So if you raise that to the power minus 2 over 3, that's the same as 5 raised to the power 3 times 2 over 3. 3a1, 3a1. 5 is the same as 5 raised to the power 3. 5 raised to the power 3 times minus 2 over 3. So 3a1, 3a1, and that simply means the square root of 5 raised to the power minus 2, which simply means the square root of 1 over 5 raised to the power 2. And that means the square root of 1 is 1, the square root of 5 raised to the power 2 is 5. And that's 1 over 5, very, very simply. That's 1 over 5, very, very simply. Now to the next one, which is 58. 58, that's 75a square b raised to the power minus 2 over 5a cube b raised to the power minus 3. That's equal to 5 here 1, 5 and 75 is 15. A square in a cube is a, and b raised to the power minus 2 divided by b raised to the power minus 3. That simply means b raised to the power minus 2 divided by b raised to the power minus 3 is the same as b raised to the power minus 2 minus 3, which is b raised to the power minus 2 plus 3, which is b raised to the power 1. So that's 15b. That's 15b over a. B raised to the power minus 2 divided by b raised to the power minus 3 is b. So that's 15b over a. Now to the next. What's the next? Number 59. Number 59. That's 2x raised to the power 1 over 2 times 2x cube raised to the power 3 over 2 times 2x cube raised to the power 3 over 2. That's equal to 2x. Okay, that's equal to 2 raised to the power 1 over 2 times x raised to the power 1 over 2 times 2 raised to the power 3 over 2 times x raised to the power 3 raised to the power 3 over 2 raised to the power 3 over 2. We have to make enough space for that so that it will be clear. Yes, that's x raised to the power 3 raised to the power 3 over 2. And now this means 2 raised to the power 1 over 2 times x raised to the power, or let me put the 2's together, times 2 raised to the power 3 over 2 times x raised to the power 1 over 2 times x raised to the power 9 over 2. And that simply means 2 2 raised to the power 1 over 2 times 2 raised to the power 3 over 2 is the same as 2 raised to the power 1 over 2 plus 3 over 2. That's 2 raised to the power 4 over 2, which is 2 raised to the power 2 times x raised to the power 1 over 2 times x raised to the power 9 over 2 is the same as x raised to the power 1 over 2 plus 9 over 2, which is x raised to the power 10 over 2, and that is x raised to the power 5. Of course, 2 here 1, 2 here 5. That's x raised to the power 5. That's 2 raised to the power 2 times x raised to the power 5. And what does that mean? That simply means 4. 2 raised to the power 2 is 4 times x raised to the power 5. That's 4x raised to the power 5. Now to the last one, which is number 6c. 18 over 32. 18 over 32 raised to the power 18 over 32 raised to the power minus 3 over 2. That's equal to the square root of 18 over 32. Let me just, 18 doesn't have a square root, so let me reduce this to a lower term. 2 in 18 is 9 and 2 in 32 is 16, and that simply means 9, not 16. 9 over 16 raised to the power minus 3 over 2, which will now be the square root of 9 over 16 raised to the power minus 3, which means the square root of 9 is 3, the square root of 16 is 4, and the whole of that raised to the power minus 3, which means 1 over 3 over 4 raised to the power 3, and that's 1 divided by 3 raised to the power 3 is 27, 4 raised to the power 3 is 64. 1 divided by 27 over 64, that's the same as 1 times 64 over 27, which is 64 over 27. Very, very simply. That's it. Very, very simply.